Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 35 of the STS Guys. I am Jeremy.
Hey, guys. It's Nate.
And I'm Scott.
And we are the STS Guys, a weekly podcast where we just sit around, shoot the shit, talk about movies, games, whatever's on our mind. Honestly, it typically has no script, no schedule of events of things to do. So that's why these always end up typically being the most random things ever. Where we rate movies and also McDonald's characters.
Grimace all the way.
Hey, that's twice in a 2 weeks in a row, Jeremy. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, we've actually remembered to tell people what we actually try to do.
Well, so here's the thing: if Larry can be the shill master, I'm like, I want to be the intro master.
There you go. There you go.
I think I can do it. I think I can do it.
Does that make me the master of all things idiotic?
Oh, Scott, you're a national treasure, and everyone loves you.
Yeah, Scott, you're just you, and that's what's important.
Yes, that's what I bring to the table. My charming personality.
Right,
you are a charmer. You charmer, you. This week, like I said, we have. We are short one person. So where is Larry?
Yeah, we're missing a fourth, and it's our treasure, Larry. Another treasure.
You haven't missed a fourth in a while, so it's kind of interesting.
Ever since we started doing the stuff live instead of actually trying to meet somewhere to all get together, we really have been able to all be together. So this is strange. I don't like this. It makes me uncomfortable.
Well, the funny thing is, like I said, I didn't think I was going to like the live thing when we first started it, but since starting it now, dude, I love it this way because we're the audio the way we want. I think that was my big hang up, just making sure we can get the audio the way we want. Since we got that, we got the mixer going on. Like I said, I can basically repump all this audio back through a mixer. So we're good. So I love our live shows. I said it gives me something to look forward to every week.
Were you about to say look down on?
Look down on. Especially this week, because like I said, there's 3 people in here.
Yeah, I think that's us. I honestly think that this time. See, Larry goes away and no one wants to come on.
Nobody cares anymore.
Nobody cares. Not even Yoshi, man. Shout out to Yoshi, our Australian audience.
Yeah, he's so dedicated too. That's definitely noticeable.
Oh,
hey, Larry.
In the chat.
Since Larry's not here, I will add his little caveat to all of our listeners via things that are not YouTube live. We do broadcast this live on Saturdays, and there is a chat that we have. So we do have occasional visitors show up. And as speak of the devil that Larry is gone, he showed up in the chat just to wish us all good luck tonight.
Aw.
Thanks for stopping by, Larry.
Thanks, Larry. I said always an STS guy, forever an STS guy. Pour some out for the homies.
Yeah, that's right. I'm pouring it out all over my desk.
Yep.
I'm not gonna waste alcohol like that. I'm drinking it.
I like you were saying though about the live streams. It makes it so much easier. You can just log in from home. It's awesome. So I think it's easier for us to be more consistent that way.
Yeah.
Oh, and here we go. We got someone. Denny, what's up, man?
Oh, Denny.
Hello there, lad.
I started your Facebook because, like I said, we connected with you on Facebook, so we'll have a few more friend requests coming through.
Nice.
All right, so what's going on this week, guys? What have you guys been up to this week?
Well, you and Larry kind of had a special week, didn't you?
I think that's the biggest thing to talk about is your guys' the news that you guys have.
The news. So what Nate is so casually mentioning is that Larry and I are heading to Funko Fun Day. So basically the annual big, huge Funko party event that's held in San Diego every year. So this is a very limited event, basically where they're pretty much like the hottest tickets in town, especially if you're a Funko fan. They sell out, like I said, in a matter of minutes once they go on public sale. But Larry is part of the Funko Fanatic forums where they basically do a kind of a pre-release of these tickets And then basically because of his status and then basically his contributions, he's been able to grab us some tickets. And so two of the STS guys are heading to Funko Fun Days, meeting up with a third STS guy who's actually going to be at San Diego Comic-Con.
Hey, yeah, that's awesome though. You guys are going, and I'm the third guy that's going to be at San Diego.
So yeah, this makes me feel it's sad now that I'm the only one that's not going to go to San Diego for that week, and I may just go just in case, but I don't think I'm going to get a hotel anywhere.
Yeah, it's going to be a little tough.
But here's the thing: me and you I said before San Diego, me and you have Vegas.
We do have Vegas, yeah. That should be fun.
Yeah, we're going to Amazing Con, and we're also going to Phoenix Comic Fest. So we're going to be having a lot of coverage from different cons and Funko Fun Days, and it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, we are going to have a busy summer, actually, thinking about it. Like,
we are.
Convention season.
So at least 3 conventions for the summer.
We have wedding seasons. We have convention season.
Yeah. Let alone, too, we still have a couple of days here to try to get ourselves into E3, too, which would be in mid-June as well. So I'm not it would be awesome to go, but I really am not hopeful, but they are still open for media, so we're still waiting on that one.
So, and we'll get the STS guys definitely have a lot on their plate. So just kind of a couple shout outs to people who joined the stream. Ian. So what is up, Ian? And our Yoshi. What's up, Yoshi?
What's going on, man?
Yoshi, we were just talking about. You're like, man, where is Yoshi? Because this was a ghost town a second ago.
It was.
But we're glad you guys are here. Thanks for joining.
All right. So Nate, I said, so I know 3 of the STS guys are on the stream right now. So me, Scott, and Nate. 2 of us have beaten God of War, and one of us is still playing. So me and Scott have officially both beat the game. So Scott, just kind of without giving any spoilers there, what'd you think?
Oh, this is rough. I think I said it before. I think this is one of the better games that I've played in a very long time. It's honestly, for me, if I had to give it a rating for it, if you we'll give a spoiler. I'm going to have a full write up here within the next day or two. I would give it a 5 out of 5, to be honest. There's a few things that are kind of negative, like some of the motion seems a little clunky and stuff like that, but the overall narrative and everything about it supersedes everything that is negative. Like those negatives are just pet peeves. Like there's nothing really broken in the game that I'm like, oh, that lowers my score. And the fact that the story just keeps you, it never reveals enough that you're like, oh, I know it's going to go on. This is going to be stupid. Like you learn just enough to keep you like, all right, well, I need to just do a little bit more because I want to figure out what's happening. So the story is amazing. It's one of the better retellings of Norse mythology that we have like in recent times. So like it's utterly amazing.
No, I actually agree. It's one of those things to where because I've always liked God of War stories kind of in general, but I actually like that this kind of take on Norse mythology and honestly how like accurate it is to actually real Norse mythology.
Right.
There's a lot of the different lore and stuff that basically you go through that's actually like real Norse mythology. So that aspect's cool. Honestly, probably the one it's so stupid, but one of the things that kind of got me on the game and kind of got me basically to enjoy it even more is how creative Santa Monica Studio was with regarding hiding like when the game loads.
Yes.
So you don't experience any loading screens throughout the entire game. Like I said, unless you die, then it has to
reload your checkpoint, right?
Checkpoint. But like I said, in between, like going into the different rooms, going to the different worlds, and this, that, and the other. Like I said, it does such a great job of basically kind of hiding basically those loading screens.
If you didn't know like how games render and things like that, you would actually, a lot of people would probably miss a lot of where those loading screens are. Like as you're going through, you realize that there's like that little thing where you have to hit circle and like shimmy across a wall with a little gap, and you think like, this is kind of annoying. Why'd they put that in there? But that's taking the place of the loading screen. So instead of sitting there watching like a loading kind of a thing, or having it try to load an area above and then mess up if you try to go back, like once you do that thing, it just that's when it signals it to load that next section. So you never really see that break in the gameplay. It's just a little cinematic, and then the next thing you know, it's the next level's opened up. Or
no, exactly. And then like so there's the more obvious ones, like I said, the quick travel gates. Like I said, when you go into the kind of that tree kind of blue spirit realm thing, so that's a little bit more obvious. Like I said, but it's still, like I said, it's still a movement through. Basically, you're still in control of the character while basically the next area is loading. So,
and I'll add to that. Let me add to that too, because once both of you, I know Nate, you did it on your live stream. Have at the point is we all have Mimir, right? The storyteller. And I love how the fact that when you're in that blue realm is where he picks up, and so you're not just sitting there doing nothing. He'll tell a random like story, or he'll tell you like a lore. So you're like, oh, like listen to his story while you're running around.
Yeah, or like if you're on the lake, he'll talk a lot and tell the kids stories. But yeah, so like I haven't beat the game, but it's not because I don't like it. It's just taking me longer to get through it. But man, I couldn't agree with you guys more. It's such an amazing game. It feels like a true evolution of the series. I've done a lot of live streams just because I want to show off how cool, the game is. I've been really enjoying it. And when I sit down and play it, it's like I get so into it because like Jeremy was talking about, it's creative, it's different. And, the combat is challenging. I was just telling the guys, I beat my first Valkyrie before this stream. And that is definitely the hardest enemy in the game I've come across. It's one of those, like, I almost threw the controller through the window a couple of times. I got so pissed off about it. But when you beat the Valkyrie, man, you feel so good about it. And that's what's the cool thing about the combat. Like once you start mastering it, you feel like a total badass.
I will tell you this. I legitimately threw my controller and was like, take that, you bitch. Like the first time when I beat a Valkyrie, I was cursing at the screen. I was like, that's what you get. Like the first time I beat one, because it took me so many times.
Yeah. But yeah, great game, man. And like you guys said, the loading, not having any loading screens, it really keeps you immersed in the game. And the only time you ever see them is when you die and you have to, reset that checkpoint. But it's clever how they've hidden it.
No, Nate actually made a suggestion the other day of one thing that I'd add to the game. And I wish you could toggle it on and off, is if you had a combo counter. Nate mentioned it the other day. I'm like, you know what? As soon as he said that, I'm like, you're exactly right. So when you're going through and you're just tearing stuff up, I would love to see a hit count. On that.
Yeah, totally.
Didn't one of the I haven't played the other God of War games. Didn't the last God of War have a hit counter?
Some of them
they all have.
They all had like a hit counter, because you could get, depending on like the number of hits and stuff, you could get like bonuses to like the souls and stuff that you got back. So
yeah, and it also give you extra life. Sometimes if you hit like 50, it'd give you a health burst.
Yeah,
or something like that. But yeah, totally, man. Once I got, spoiler alert, once I got the Blades of Chaos again, there's like, that you guys know what scene I'm talking about. They introduce all these enemies, and they're not like super strong, but you just start tossing these guys around, and it's like a symphony using your blades. It would be awesome to see how high that hit count really got. But yeah, I think that's the only thing really missing.
Well, yeah, there's so once you get to Muspelheim, is that Muspelheim?
The Muspelheim, the fire world.
There's like I said, there's not any spoilers there. It's just like I said, you're just literally fighting people.
It's basically that's your kind of arcade like mode, like world.
So it's like they just have wave after wave of guys that go through kind of as you build through these like different levels. Like I said, there's a lot of different things in there that I said I just love to see hit counts. Especially like I said in the one where you have to basically survive for like 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, and they just start wave after wave come after you.
Wave after wave after wave of bad guys coming after you. Like I said, I'd love to see a hit count.
It's kind of like horde mode.
Yeah. Now, there is one thing that they added that I think is actually pretty badass with their recent update. I don't know if any of you guys have gotten a chance to check it out. I actually loaned out my copy of the game to somebody so they could play it. So yeah, shout out to Chris here. I hope you're playing it right now. Honestly, um, is they added a photo mode, so you can actually like as you're going through, like pause the game. Kind of Horizon Zero Dawn had the photo mode as well, that you could like remove all the hood and like stop motion and actually like take screenshots and things, but in actually like high res pictures. They added that into God of War, so you can actually, as you go through, you see something cool or you did something cool, you can actually take a photo of it.
Yeah,
No,
that would be cool. I had like a photo mode.
Now, okay, so God of War is something we've been excited for to see for a long time. So, there's another game that's coming out. I know that we're all excited for. Spider-Man.
Yes,
Yeah,
another
man.
PS4 exclusive too.
Yeah, which is crazy. I think it's like that's probably one of their biggest exclusives if you think about it. Like they've had some good games in the past. God of War is one of them. That's an exclusive, but I think Spider-Man, that's one of those titles that everybody, no matter if you have an Xbox or if you have a PlayStation, you want to play this awesome Spider-Man game that looks like it's going to be really great.
And here's my prediction with Spider-Man. So I know it's a PS4 exclusive. I see this PS4 exclusive eventually transversing the systems. And I know it's a big play for Sony to kind of get people into PS4, this, that, and the other.
Dude, but based on the amount of money they just made on God of War, I don't think they have any incentive to do that, because you're both the studios that are making this. It's Insomniac with that. They're both owned by Sony. I mean, these are
I said for true
Sony things.
They made that much money with just PS4. Like I said, that's their incentive. It's like, hey, we've made much money with PS4. Hey, what if it's a year down the line? So I think it's going to be. Remember, was it Tomb Raider?
Where Xbox had the 1 year
exactly
exclusive.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be something like that. To be honest.
Yeah, but so I have a counter to that though, because if you look at Tomb Raider, when they did the release to Sony, the sales were not that great on the Sony side of things. Like they didn't do as many copies as they thought they would because of their exclusive deal. And I think it's going to be the same thing. It could be the best game out there.
Oh yeah. Well,
once they try to transition, they're not going to make that much more money. When I think, you're going to have with as well as God of War is doing, and the fact that Spider-Man game is coming out at E3. Mark my words, there is going to be a new Halo announced at E3, and it's going to be almost done. Like it's going to be close to completion. That is my prediction. I just based on everything, we're getting a new Halo.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have to respond in some way. Xbox, there's just a lot of competition in PlayStation 4 with Spider-Man and with God of War and some other titles that are coming out.
You had like Horizon last year that just beat all expectations.
Yeah, and then there's Ni no Kuni 2, which I know isn't quite as big, but I really like the first one. But that's another exclusive that got really good ratings. I mean, they're coming out strong, and there's not a whole lot on the Xbox future that is really attractive.
As far as I know, that their big one that was supposed to come out is a new Fable, but that I think the rumor had it that Fable they were actually going to port over and have it as a cross-platform. They were going to bring that back out to say like to do that. So I mean, really, all they have is Halo, or one of their potentially bring back one of their lower selling IPs.
Mass Effect was originally Xbox alone.
The
first one. And then that started across platforms. Just because that's I said that's kind of the thing I think I see with Spider-Man eventually. I think I think it'll start with one, but I think it'll eventually bleed over. Just like I said, just for like even if it's a year later and they can milk a few extra million out of it, I think it'll happen.
Well, I think you're right. I think this Insomniac's going to do for Spider-Man what Rocksteady did for Batman. The Batman games that Rocksteady made were freaking amazing, and everybody wants to be, Batman, or everybody wants to be Spider-Man in the game, but they want it to be really well done. And I've been watching a lot of videos of this new Spider-Man game, and it looks so good. The combat looks awesome. The way he uses his webs. There's like 30 different alternate costumes, like anything you can think of. Spider Noir, Spider-Man 2099.
And like I said, here's the thing too, and this is because I was reading an article. I'll have to find it, and I'll throw a link in this episode. is not only are they different costumes, but they're different functional costumes.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
yeah.
So some of them do have impact, like changes in gameplay and things.
And you can swap out those abilities between the different costumes. So if there's like, say, if you want to use Noir, but you like the ability from the classic costume, you can swap those out. So you can kind of like make it really customized, which is
whatever
awesome.
Spider-Man you want. Yeah. The other thing that it had me worried until I saw some of the videos, and it was that combat, because I thought they were going to go the like Arkham route with the things, which at the time when Arkham games came out, like no one was really doing that style of gameplay, right? It was kind of Arkham, and then Shadow War came out and had something similar, where it's all basically you hit one button to punch, then you have your counter, and basically depending on the enemy, you have button prompts that basically finish off the fight. And I really didn't want them to do that with Spider-Man, but it seems like it's kind of more of a beat 'em up on this one, where you actually have like combos and things like the old school games.
It's got that, and then I also like the from the trailers that I saw that you can actually use the environments against people.
Like,
if there's a crate, or if there's a car, if there's just something that's hanging down, you can basically web it up, web it down, so you can actually use the environments to your advantage in your combat.
Yeah, I totally agree with you guys. And another thing that looks awesome is one of the developers was talking about how they're focusing on the vertical combat, because it's Spider-Man after all. He uses his webs a lot. He goes in the air when he fights. So I think that's going to be cool too, seeing how he uses the webbing and kind of using the vertical aspect, not just staying on the ground.
Right, jumping up, and you get to play off his very acrobatic, fighting style. And those videos definitely showed off. I was reading one where I think they said too that like, and this could be different, but like like square is like your physical attack, and triangle is your web. So you can really create these massive long combo strings between like punching and webbing throughout it. That is, I think, is going to add a lot to the different gameplay, because like you said, you can do a combo to web somebody to the ground, or like Jeremy said, you can grab like a crate from behind somebody and pull it into them, or grab one guy and swing him into the others. And there's so much that you can do with the webs. I think it's going to make that gameplay so much better. Like, they're taking time to really get the characterization of like, how would Spider-Man legitimately fight, and bring that to a gameplay versus just having punching and kicking like some of the older games had.
Yeah, and one thing I read that's cool, they're focusing on kind of like his personal life too. So there's a lot of Peter Parker in this game. There's also a lot of Spider-Man, but it's more of like, how does he balance both? And to be honest with you, when I was watching the cartoon shows and, you read comics, some of the best ones were where he's struggling between being Spider-Man and being Peter Parker. So I think that'll be cool how they add that into the game.
Right. And now I really hope they keep it in, and that's just not something they kind of threw in. But the fast travel, using the subway as a fast travel, and it's him playing on his phone in the subway while he's driving, like going through, like things like that are phenomenal. Like, they just, because you can totally see like Spider-Man doesn't have the ability to fly, so if he needs to go far and he doesn't want to swing, he would ride the subway.
Well, like I said, it's very, like I said, if they want to basically kind of use the same thing like Santa Monica Studio did with like hiding those load screens between, like I said, different areas of the map, that's the perfect way to do that. That's amazing. Like I said, I hope they do keep that in there, because that would be, or like I said, or if you could like hail a taxi
and just show him sitting in the back.
Yeah, just show him sitting in the back.
Kind of like a Deadpool moment.
Yeah,
there's a Dopinder taking him around.
Yeah, it would work, and it fits Spider-Man as like this kind of like, he's not the best, like he can't fly, so he doesn't have the powers to like travel really fast. I mean, he doesn't go much faster than a car from what he can swing at, right? Like, so legitimately, like if he needs to go a really far distance, potentially a subway is going to be his best bet.
Right. And even like, when you see him scaling the buildings and using his webbing, it looks so fluid. If he gets close to a building, he'll just run across it and then use a web to kind of go over to the next building. It looks so awesome.
So you actually bring that up, Nate. I will tell you that is going to be the make it or break it for this game, is the swinging mechanics.
I think so too.
Because on the old PlayStation systems, there have been many a Spider-Man game. Most of them were based on the Sam Raimi movies, but some of them had phenomenal like web swinging.
That second Spider-Man game that came out on PS2, I
was
think
the best one.
Yeah,
because you could control your speed and stuff like that. But some of the other ones, like where you had that, the mechanic didn't work in some of the other ones. So that's going to be the thing that really drives this game home. Is how is that swinging mechanic going to be? Does it feel fluid and does it feel right, or is it this awkward thing like the some of the later games had?
Yeah, I really hope they get that right, because they were talking about how they want to use, the way you can, gain momentum, and you can do like a dive. So if you get really high, you can dive and then use that, to gain momentum into an attack if you find an enemy on the ground. So just going from really high up in the air to doing an attack on the ground really easily. I think that'd be cool.
Now, I definitely pre-ordering. I know you guys are probably pre-ordering as well, right?
Oh yeah. So I think it's already done. If not, it will be done this weekend.
I think that's our STS Guys recommendation pre-order of the week. Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Definitely.
It's not a pre-order at this point, but if you have a PS4 and you haven't done so, go buy God of War. Like, what are you waiting for? Go get it.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of that, I've been waiting to upgrade to a PS4 Pro, because my PS4 I've had since probably launch. I got it when Destiny came out, but it's starting to have this weird thing where the disc will just randomly eject when I'm playing a game. And I don't know why. So I've been waiting to get a PS4, but long story short, I'm hoping they give us like a custom Spider-Man PS4, because I would totally buy it.
Going along the lines of God of Wars.
Yeah, I would buy that. I said if we get that, I'd get that. I'd get the custom PS4. Well, one, because I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, but then two, kind of like you, Nate, I've had my PS4 since launch. Well, then, like I said, I also have an HDR TV, but the standard PS4 can't do HDR.
Yeah, I was going to say, you have like a really nice TV. If you got that 4K Pro, I'm sure it would look amazing on your TV. And eventually want to get a 4K just so I can take advantage of that. But
I know, like Jeremy had said, he has some weird stuff that happens with some of the games because the PS4 doesn't have that HDR so it doesn't really work. Some of the games mess up visually when on your TV. Like,
oh yeah, well, like I said, just off point, like I said, for like God of War, like I said, the first like 3 days I was playing it, I was like, it irritated the piss out of me because on my main PS4 menu, it displayed just fine. But when I went to go play God of War, it basically put like this 2-inch black bar all around the entire thing. So it was almost like it was like letterboxed. And so I looked inside the God of War menus to see if I could stretch it out. Couldn't find it there. And then so I'm like, okay, this can't be it. And so I actually went on the Santa Monica Studios forums, and it was a complaint for a lot of people. And I guess, like I said, if you have an HDR TV but are using the standard PS4, you actually have to go into the PlayStation settings and stretch the screen beyond its limits, so that way it can basically display correctly in the game. That's
annoying as hell, because then you don't get to use the max settings of your TV. So sounds like if they have a Spider-Man PS4 Pro, you might need to grab one.
No.
That would be something like, if it has anything cool on the side of it, I may end up picking it up. Like, I would love just like a controller with like web, like that's printed with like webbing or something on it. Just, it doesn't have to be something that nuts, but just something cool like Spider-Man logo on the side of the PS4, and just like I said, like a webbed up remote would be amazing. If you looked at the
God of War one, the thing that was cool about that is that it came with a DualShock 4 that had God of War written where the light bar is, so it kind of illuminated it so you could read it. It'd be awesome if they made one with like a Spider-Man insignia where the light up bar is, so it lights up that symbol.
Yeah,
that'd be sweet.
Oh yeah, light up Spider-Man symbol. Oh, that would be amazing.
That would be so awesome. I think they're going to do it. I really do, because if you look at the God of War one, they really put a lot of custom details into it. I could see them slapping like a huge logo.
For exclusive, like I can see that happening.
With a lot of their exclusives, they've been busting out like limited edition consoles for. So there's a very good chance that we're going to get a limited edition system. At least hopefully it's a pro. I mean, at this point I don't see them doing like a non-pro version, so at least we should get that.
It'd be like a 1 terabyte Pro at the very least, I think, because if they didn't use a Pro, it's just you're missing a huge opportunity because people are gonna. It's all over the place. People are crazy about this game. I think it's gonna be a really huge seller for Sony.
Yeah, they like I said earlier. Sony is legitimately killing it in terms of video games in the last 2 years. Like everything they've done is when they've taken all the stuff that the other studios have failed about and have actually used that to be like, we're gonna do something great and make it this way. So and they have made tons of money and some great games just based on just kind of looking and saying like, oh, people do want single player only games and there's not really any out there, and all right, let's bring God of War, and we're not going to do any DLC with it. Like, we're giving you a complete experience with this game. So things like that are just amazing.
Totally. And I'm so happy that God of War doesn't have microtransactions. You look throughout the game,
amazing.
There's nothing that you have to buy. It's all just play the game and you get it unlocked. How awesome is that? I hope they do the same thing with Spider-Man.
So we talked about some video games. I think we should switch gears to some movies. We had a couple big movies coming out.
Definitely.
There's two.
There's two.
Two, at least on the immediate horizon.
There's one that I'm really excited to see, and there's one that I'm like, I might see it in theater. I honestly might.
Okay, Jerry. First off, you're gonna have to see it in theater because at the very least we're gonna all have to talk about it.
So let's go to the one you're really excited about because I know it's in the Marvel realm, right, Jeremy?
Absolutely. You know me, Nate.
So that, and I will have to say, all of our people in the chat also know what we're talking about. The one that we're excited for. That's Deadpool 2.
Man, I am excited for that. Seeing what they did with Infinity War, Marvel is just kicking ass. I cannot wait to see what they do with Deadpool 2. What are the things like you guys really want to see, and what are you kind of worried about? I'll start with you, Jeremy.
I'll start with the thing I'm worried about. I'm worried about them making a sequel.
Because it's the curse of the sequels, man.
Exactly. Scott, me and you have talked about this. I think as long as they don't try too hard, and as long as I said they don't force a whole bunch of stuff on the audience, I think it'll work. I think the only thing that has me being kind of nervous is one, like I said, I think we might get some of that forced kind of like humor just because it needs to be there just to be there. Versus I think the first movie kind of flowed naturally throughout the entire movie, and the humor was in the spots and it needed to be at. I think secondly, since they're trying to introduce X-Force in this movie, it always makes me nervous once basically you start shoving more into a movie than what the actual main movie's about. So I'm hoping if the X-Force introduction, I literally hope it's maybe 5 minutes of the movie in a final battle, and that's it. And then basically we can spin off into an X-Force movie eventually. I think that, like I said, those things kind of make me nervous. The things I'm looking forward to, one, like I said, the first Deadpool, like I said, it was a complete enjoyment. Like I said, I actually went to the premiere, basically where Rob Liefeld, so the creator of Deadpool, actually screened the movie. So we actually had a private screening, and then after the movie, he basically did a Q&A and signed a whole bunch of stuff for us and things like that. And that's
really cool.
Well, it's interesting to see how much, even though he created this character, long ago with Marvel, and he doesn't even fully own the rights to the character anymore, of how the studio still involves him with the character. He's actually in the first Deadpool. Like I said, he's in the bar.
He's in the bar, and his name is on the Deadpool on the behind him.
Yep.
Too. If you look at the names on the Deadpool, Rob Liefeld is one of the names.
Yep. So
and talk about a complete experience when you're going to see that movie, having him there, and then you get stuff signed. I mean, that makes it awesome.
It was such a great experience. So I'm looking forward to the entire movie. I like the fourth wall breaks. I like the secret tie-ins that they had. So for example, that final battle where I said, even though I said this is before the whole Fox Disney merger happened, And like I said, and this movie was filmed before the whole Fox Disney merger happened. Is in the first movie you had like the crashed helicarrier from basically after the events of Winter Soldier.
So you can kind of know when it takes place in the MCU in case it ever does get brought in.
Yeah, so it's stuff like that. I said it was amazing. So I'm really hopeful that we're gonna get stuff like that. I said, like, the only thing that makes me nervous is the introduction of X-Force and everything else. Johnson Riverdale, Cable. I'm very nervous about Cable.
So Cable's really hard, and the fact that he's like the time traveling techno virus, like there's so much to do with Cable when you could have done just a straight up like, Nathan Gray, like.
Yeah. I agree with you guys. I'm a little worried about Cable, but seeing how Josh Brolin handled, Thanos. I was saying like some of the guys in the movie.
You're like the British, like Thanos.
Yeah, Thanos. Yeah. Thanos. Anyways, seeing how Josh Brolin handled that character, it kind of makes me a little less worried about Cable now because I thought he killed it as Thanos. He did a really good job, and I think he's going to do a good job as Cable.
I don't doubt that he's going to do Cable like well as the character. It's just
right of how they're going to write Cable.
How are they going to write Cable? And then, like I said, it looks like in this one, and again, it could change very well. Like I'm assuming that what we see in the trailers is hopefully only little bits and pieces of the beginning. Like Cable as a bad guy just doesn't really fit that well for me.
Mm-hmm.
And my worry is kind of along the same lines with Jeremy is you're bringing in this whole group of people that we really don't know a whole lot about, who knows fucking Shatterstar, right? Like, or Bedlam, like some of the characters that they have coming through, like they're not really big, well-known characters. And you're going to try to introduce them as like a team up off the bat without having a whole lot of background. Like I get they're trying to make fun of other movies and they're probably going to do it humorously, but I'm with Jeremy. Like this is only the second Deadpool movie and we're already starting to bring in a team to like make an X-Force. It makes it's kind of scary. Like it might be a little forced.
Yeah. So would you say that's probably one of the main thing that you're worried about then?
They're going to try to force the X-Force. Yes, I do believe. Now I do hope though that they actually start to bring in like some of the other characters that would be tied to him. Like I know that it seems like he's trying to kill the hilarious kid from Hunt for the Wilder People, but I really hope that they bring in Hope Summers. Like you can't have Cable without Hope Summers.
True, that would be cool to see that.
I would also love to see so if we're gonna we're using Deadpool for the introduction of characters, just like have little hints of the other pieces of the universe set. And like, so for example, like what if we get like a Strife? I'd love to see a Strife story arc because like I said, that was like I said, just a huge villain for the X-Men and the X-Force.
Or even just think about like the Ascani, right? The people that are trying to make somebody strong enough to kill Apocalypse, right? Like you actually have this entire group of people that are designed to like make superpowered mutants. Like give them as a bad guy too. Like there's a couple of really good bad guys that you could bring in for that. And I really would hope they don't waste a movie with Cable as the bad guy.
Yeah, I think you guys are kind of hitting the nail on the head as far as like things that I'm worried about. Like it's what you both touched on. I don't want them to cram too much into this movie. And then, it's like just way too many characters, way too much stuff going on. Jeremy kind of talked about this. Deadpool was great for me because it was kind of simple in its story. If you think about it, it's a revenge story. He's going after this guy, Francis, that caused him to change and turn into kind of Deadpool. But it was great in what it did. And, Ryan Reynolds killed the role. Now I feel like Ryan Reynolds might be overshadowed a little bit by the X-Force, by Cable, by everything that's going to go on in this movie. And it kind of worries me a little bit, to be honest, because a lot of the points you guys have already said, I'm not going to reiterate everything, but there's a lot of unknown characters that people probably don't know much about, and they're not going to get a ton of screen time, probably an explanation. If I have to think about it, the movie's going to start with Deadpool seeing, finding Cable, they fight. He realizes he can't take him on by himself. He gets a team, they fight Cable, and then Cable turns good and they fight somebody else. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's my fear is that that's what it's going to do, and that introducing the X Force was solely just so they can make a Deadpool 3. Yeah, or
Right.
I guess they did announce that there will not be a Deadpool 3, but it will be X Force moving forward. Like that's the next movie in that universe.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that they do take a little bit of time, or like I said, only wait till the very end to get these people together.
Yeah, like I said, I hope that it's just like I said, just a few minutes of screen time, so that it can show up for a final battle, and then you know, kind of just fade off at that point in time, and they become a team at the end, rather than just like shoving too much into it. Like I said, I hate movies that shove too much into there. I think it's wrecked so many movies, and like I said, there's so many other movies out there that basically follow that kind of same formula.
Justice League.
Justice League, you have Spider-Man 3, you have everything after, so basically everything after the Batman Returns. So you start shoving
team ups
and
grab 18 characters and mess up Bane.
You start throwing all this stuff in. I think honestly, said the standalone movie, like I said, has a lot of power in it with the standalone characters until you have those characters developed enough. Which I don't think, you know, having Deadpool with one movie and basically it was literally just a revenge story is enough to basically flesh out the full character that is Deadpool. I think I think he's so much more dynamic than that, and there's so much other like source material to use. I think with him being basically a solo adventure on himself, I think it's a cash grab to basically introduce X-Force. Basically, okay, now they have X-Men movies coming out, and they have X-Force movies coming out, and they have this movie. I just don't want to see it basically just as a cash grab and actually progress the story of Deadpool.
Yeah. Now, there's another thing though that I would worry about is it goes along kind of the same realm that James said. There's a whole lot more to the character. I really hope that they don't devolve down into just doing like the poop and dick jokes like the comics have done in the last couple of years. Like if you read a lot of the Deadpool comics, a lot of them just became these just how silly can we make everything, and like they just made Deadpool like the way that they can just write these comedy stories, but some of them were not that funny. You know, like Deadpool was great when he would occasionally do the fourth wall breaks and just the quips that he makes, like the whole, you know, chimichanga obsession and things like that. Like sometimes it got a little too much. Like it was like he just became a walking meme for a while, and it just made it ridiculous. And so I really hope that they don't start leading onto like, oh, we have to make more funny jokes, and it just starts being more like I said, poop and dick jokes.
You're right. Like I can't say how right you are, just because I think honestly. So once the last movie came out, look at the push for Deadpool merchandise and Deadpool this and Deadpool that, and like I said, there's so much overkill with Deadpool everything. Like I said, I love the character, but it almost made me not love the character because I said of basically all this other stuff that basically isn't the character. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, he's had chimichanga jokes a couple times, but I'm like, okay, enough with the chimichanga jokes.
Let's move on. Like,
let's move on. Like I said, he has, like I said, more of a story than just that. And like I said, the amount of money that they've spent in the marketing of Deadpool 2 has me so scared because shoving this marketing down your throat.
Yeah. I completely agree with you guys. Deadpool 1 worked because it felt unique, and I really hope they don't try to replicate it like the sequel curse, like you guys keep talking about. You know, you see it in comedies all the time where they use all the same jokes. It's like, don't do that. You know, make it feel original again. And even though, it still was made before the Fox Disney deal took place, I'm a little worried that Disney might have looked at some of the footage and like, no, take that out. Some of the stuff that made the rated R labeling of the first one so good because it was gritty stuff. You know, they pushed the envelope as far as, having sexual content and
you mean watching Watching Ryan Reynolds get pegged by his girlfriend. You didn't like that?
Well, yeah, it's just stuff like that you're like, wow, this is a Marvel movie and this is totally different. But I love that about it because it's cool to see these characters in a darker universe. To be honest, like Logan was a great example. Show me that grittiness of it. That's what I want to see.
So there's one thing that does bode well for this movie, though, is a lot of the media people and stuff have already had their screeners, which is weird because it's like 2 weeks out, right? Which is usually, they usually only get a screener about a week ahead of time, but they're a couple weeks out at this point. And all the first reactions that they've sent are generally pretty positive for it, and they do say that it does live up to the first one. So that at least leads me to believe that we have at least a decent movie going on that's not going to be like bad.
Yeah, people saw it yesterday, so
yes.
Let's see what it is on Rotten Tomatoes.
So I'm looking at. I don't know if Rotten Tomatoes has it up yet because they like to do their own little thing now. I don't know if you've been on their site for a while, but they like to do like releases for their own, like their scores for movies.
I remember that now.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it too. One thing I know we're spending a lot of time in Deadpool, but one thing I want to ask you guys about, and I want to get your opinions on, is now that now that Disney has the rights to X-Men, do you think the X-Force being introduced might be a good way to segue into X-Men being a part of these movies, or maybe being connected in some way?
No, I don't think so. And I'll get Jeremy's thing on this
stretch.
But I have my thing is, I don't think having the X-Force is your best way to, because you're introducing a whole new set of people with powers.
No, yeah, right? I don't mean like being the introduction, but I just mean being a way to tie the X-Men into a Deadpool movie later on.
You could potentially, yeah, but I mean, I think that's what they continually have Colossus for, is their way to bring like, oh, this is the person that was well known as an X-Man, like. Let's have at least one well-known character have a bit part, so we at least have a tie, so that we can say, yeah, the Colossus here is that Colossus in that movie. Like, here's the two movies together.
Yeah, you guys probably know more about the Marvel lore than me. That's why I wanted to ask. Like, do they team up a lot in the comics, like X-Force and X-Men, or no?
Not really.
X-Force and X-Men. Honestly, the X-Men and Avengers team up more than X-Force and Avengers.
Yeah.
Okay.
X-Force is kind of like I guess like a strike team of mutants. Like, they're not really like the champions for good, like the X-Men generally have been.
Almost like the Task Force X, like Suicide Squad. They're basically
they're like government wet work.
Exactly.
Got it.
My theory, and here's my theory, and it sucks is this. It's if it follows this, I think literally they're gonna dump everything. They're not gonna no one, like I said, once this final Disney Fox merger goes through, no, Ryan Reynolds may come back as Deadpool. But like I said, none of the people that were, like I said, in X-Men, like I said, you can basically dump that, because I don't think anybody has any real like huge ties, like really invested into those characters that much. I said, yeah, James McAvoy did good as Professor X, but honestly, I think you could do anybody as Professor X, because it's not like, changing around Tony Stark as Iron Man. I can see other people as Professor X. I can't see other people as Iron Man.
Pick a random British dude, make him bald, and put him in a wheelchair. You got Professor X.
Exactly.
Aren't they making another X-Men? I think it's called Dark Phoenix or something.
That is supposed to be the end of Fox's
Fox X-Men.
Okay.
So I literally see them not taking any of their stories, any of their continuing, and just starting fresh.
So what I think they're going to do is they might continue with the Deadpool things. Because let's be honest, Deadpool makes money, right? Like, we can't deny that these movies are going to make a shit ton of money. I think they're going to keep Deadpool as its own little pocket universe, and it just won't tie to anything. Those are going to be tangential stories that go on. The writers can try to tie it back into MCU, but the writers for like the MCU movies and Marvel itself is going to say these are not officially part of the MCU. They're going to
I agree with both of you. I think, to Jeremy's point, they're going to try to make it their own. Like, they're probably going to throw out a lot of the stuff that they used to have. But I also think that they might retain maybe a few things just to keep continuity a little bit. But, it's Disney. They're going to want to make it their own.
So here's my prediction. I think so. We have Phase 4 coming up because we're still in Phase 3 up until the next Avengers. Phase 4 starts obviously with the first Spider-Man movie after Avengers 4. I think maybe at the end of Phase 4. I honestly, I think at the end of Phase 4, we get a tease of, I said the X-Men,
they go in, and Phase 5 starts to incorporate them.
I think Phase 5 starts to incorporate the X-Men. So I think we're a long way from seeing X-Men and part of the MCU.
Yeah,
I think honestly that the next team that we see is part of the MCU before X-Men. I think Fantastic Four comes back because it allows them to keep the kind of the cosmic aspect. Everyone is still under contract for a few more movies with Guardians, so even past Guardians 3. So I think you have a lot more to do with that than you do with, like I said, the X-Men.
And if you don't go Skrulls storyline for the big bad that they're going to accumulate, or all the stories are going to lead to, if you bring in the Fantastic Four, you have that option for Galactus. Right? True. Like there's a big side of things, and what's bigger than Thanos trying to wipe out the universe is they have to stop this being that goes from planet to planet devouring everything on it. Yeah. It's a just giant thing that they're going to have to fight. I would agree, Jerry. I think we're going to see the return of the Fantastic Four, which will be very awkward because now we'll have the original Fox Johnny Storm potentially with a new Johnny Storm.
That's awesome.
So, because if anybody forgets, the current Captain America was once the Human Torch.
They're going to do a Hulk situation where they have another new cast for Fantastic Four, another reboot.
Well, they messed up the last one. I think everyone's welcoming a new Fantastic Four, to be honest.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I think they've really not made a good Fantastic Four movie yet, even though there's been 3 of them. I don't think any one of those justifies Fantastic Four.
And honestly, here's what I would like to see Marvel to do. They can steal this idea because it would be great. Is kind of take the cues of the Planet of the Apes movies, especially that first one with James Franco. And what I mean is, if you watch very carefully on that first Planet of the Apes, right? There's a scene on one of the TVs where they talk about the launch of the space shuttle.
Yeah,
which is the one with that Charleston Heston was on. So it basically is like that original Planet of the Apes is this damn movie. It takes place in the same continuity. Like they're actually bringing in, saying that the freaking space shuttle that he's on is launched just during that movie, but it's just on TV. You don't actually see it. They don't mention it or anything. It's just a TV broadcast. So I would love is for the movies to talk about, the research station up in space that gets hit with the cosmic rays. Just talk about them launching this new science team into space. They don't even have to mention them as Reed Richards or anything like that. Just mention that there's this thing up in space. And then in another movie that takes place afterwards, talk about, oh, that thing was almost destroyed. The people are being brought back down. Just have that shit happen in the background and not really mention it. And then you can introduce these characters without it really being a major part of it. And just be like, oh, remember all that stuff in the background? We were teasing these characters and now we brought them out.
That is perfect. I love that idea. I love the way that they did that in Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
perfect. I think that's a perfect way to do it.
It's a good way to do it without trying to shove it down your throat. Here's the new Fantastic Four.
It gets you out of that origin story bullshit loophole that all these stories fall under. Hey, let's tell an origin story of the Fantastic Four. Let's do this. Let's tell an origin story. Let's tell an origin story. An origin story that happens way in the background. Just pays homage to the fans out there because, like I said, they know exactly what's going on, but it's a surprise to the casual moviegoer.
Yeah, and it lets them go back and they can be like, "Oh, did you see? Here's where it is." And so you never know really when they're going to show up if you're a fan. Yeah. But if you know what's going on, you're like, okay, so they went up in space. So at some point they're going to hit with the cosmic rays. Okay, they got hit with it. When they're going to come back down eventually, and then they're going to figure out that they have powers. At a certain point, they're going to show up, but you have no idea when. But you can tell. You have a really good way to tell it just in the background without and you can give a full origin story that way without really having to do an origin story.
Mhm.
So if anyone from Marvel is listening, which they're not, I want like a credit if that actually happens. Like, mark my words. Like, I want a credit at the end of the movie. I don't care what it is. You could be like
Scott, I will lobby
general douchebag and just put my name by it. I will take it. Like, put my name in the credits if that happens.
Yeah, give this man his due because that was a genius idea. So go ahead, Jerry.
Well, like I said, we're getting deep into this conversation. We still have to talk about, what we're supposed to talk about in this podcast, which is Arrested Development.
So we talked about movies enough. Let's move to TV.
Real quick, Solo.
Yeah.
We talked about Solo.
We'll give a review. I don't know. We'll talk about it a little bit, and we'll probably spoil the movie for those that are all in our boat of just general. I don't really care.
Yeah, you guys know what we're really excited about, and there's no reason to talk about things that we're not super excited about.
Yeah, like we'll see it and we'll go through. And I'll say this: I will be the first one to eat my words if Solo is really good.
Oh, I don't know. I'll eat my words if Solo is really good.
Yeah, but I don't think it's gonna be.
I just like I said, I'm still trying to understand who asked for a Solo movie.
You know what I would have liked to have seen? A Lando movie.
Yeah, give me a character that literally had the least amount, like I said, such a small amount of screen time where you have so much to basically tell.
Just one quick thing. Now that Disney has it, look what they did with the MCU. They focus on all these individual characters. They're going to do the same thing with Star Wars because they want to I think they're going to try to make it a bigger world than what it is.
Yeah. You're completely right, Nate. They're world building right now. They're trying to expand on things, and they're going to probably introduce something in this that will then lead into their next, solo story or thing.
I literally think it's just a filler. It's some filler movie like Rogue One. Rogue One was a filler movie. It literally introduced nothing.
You could be completely right because you're right. Rogue One. I mean,
didn't do anything.
It fit a place in the story, but there's no continuity from it at all.
Yeah, everyone's dead.
Right
at the end of it, like
nothing else you can do. Which I think I would have loved to see more Jyn Erso.
Yes.
Basically, like, hey, just there's her basically fighting in the rebellion. Like I said, right before you get into episode 4. I'm sure there's other stuff that's going on other planets besides just the whole story arc of Luke.
Well, and if you listen to one of our old podcasts, that was the big thing that we wanted. Is it's a rebellion against an empire.
Yeah,
we're focusing on one small part of it. Like, there are so many other stories to tell. Tell me shit that's going on, over here versus, where the story is. Like, I want to know what some of these other people are doing, and they've got to be able to create something original. Like, don't base it off of something that we've already seen. Like, give me a unique story that is completely out there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Totally.
Yeah. So I'll reverse my. I said like Scott. Like I said, I'll be 100% reverse my views on Solo if it blows my socks off. But I just don't anticipate it doing so. So listen with the episode title. So we haven't even thought of an episode title yet. So we said keep that in back of guys' minds as we wrap up our conversations.
Missing Larry to mess up a word or something.
Yeah. The only thing we have is I literally called myself a giant douchebag and said to put me in the credits as that, but I really don't want that as the episode title.
We can call it douche nozzle.
Scott's a giant douchebag.
Douche nozzle in the credits.
Yeah. That's actually pretty good.
That's pretty genius.
Douchebag in the credits. That's what you got to call it. Like,
it needs to be shorter. Just keep your ears open. Like I said, keep your
anyone who's actually still listened. Yeah, if you're still listening and you think of a title in the thing, throw it in the chat.
Yeah,
like if you think of something good that we've said that you thought was clever or something along those lines.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
let's talk about Netflix. Netflix has done something super interesting. So
I didn't tell you guys this before. I got a story about this too that I found out just like a few minutes before we started this. So introduce what you're talking about, but I got a little story that we have to add as a caveat.
So Netflix. As you guys know, I said there's a few guys on the podcast, with the exception of one, who's not currently here, has never seen Arrested Development. But Arrested Development is really one of my favorite shows.
Amazing.
Because I know Larry, like I said, likes The Office and Parks and Rec and things like that.
Which
Larry, I said, I know you're going to listen to this. You need to go watch Arrested Development.
If you like those other two, Arrested Development is right up your alley.
Yeah, Arrested Development is right up your alley.
I haven't seen as much of it as you guys have, but from what I have seen, it's hilarious. It's a great show.
It's amazing.
So what did Netflix do though, Jeremy? Like let's.
So back in the day, back when Netflix started doing original programming,
I think it was like 2012-ish, right? 12, 13, somewhere around in there.
Yeah, something like that. One of their very first things they did was, like, you know what? They basically bought properties from other other studios. So Arrested Development was originally a Fox property. It went off the air after the third season, but basically it had developed like this huge cult following. So Netflix basically decided, like, hey, let's revive this series. Let's try to create some original content for Netflix. This is back before they were huge into original content. This is back before the first season of Daredevil. So this is a long time ago.
This was legitimately, I think, one of their first original pieces of content.
Exactly. So basically, they came out with the Arrested Development season 4. For the first 3 seasons, for the people who love the first 3 seasons, season 4, it was terrible.
It was pretty meh.
It was, like I said, it had funny moments. It just didn't make any sense because it didn't follow the same formula of the first 3 seasons.
So what they tried to do, for anybody who doesn't know, is they basically tried to tell the story of, cause Arrested Development always was kind of like with the modern times, and it was off the air for like 4 years before Netflix brought it back. So what they tried to do is say, like, oh, what's happened in those 4 years? But instead of just telling like a chronological story of what was going on, is they took each character and gave them their own episode or two that basically span that time frame. So there had all these concurrent stories told from different perspectives.
Yeah,
which didn't work.
It doesn't work like that. That's not the way that the Arrested Development universe works in regards to what the audience is used to seeing. So when the season came out, it didn't really get the hottest reviews. Fast forward to 2018, so five-ish
years later.
While I'm talking, look up to see when it came out. Season 4.
Yeah, I'll pull it up here. Give me a sec.
Fast forward to 2018. We basically get announced that, hey, they're bringing back a 5th season of Arrested Development.
2013.
2013. So it's been 5 years. So they're 5 years later. They're bringing back season 5. But before they did that, because a lot of people weren't really super excited about season 5 because of what season 4 was about. Because it didn't really, it got meh reviews. It was kind of middle of the line. It really wasn't. Really wasn't kind of a big thing. Netflix heard that. Ron Howard, basically the creator, Ron Howard and Brian Grazer, the creators of the show, heard that. So what they did was the most interesting thing and the craziest thing that I've ever seen anybody do. They took the 4th season. So season 5 comes out in 2 weeks, on 5
couple weeks, yeah.
So to kind of make up for season 4, they went back, recut the entire season 4. So instead of making it 13 single episodes, they went back, cut it all up, spliced it, merged episodes together, added additional content, removed some content, and made 22 half-hour episodes. Basically out of the story, and it basically completely changes the story.
It makes it easier to follow, and you know what's going on.
Exactly. It makes it easier, and it makes it funnier. Like I said, it just, because, like I said, you just saw that moments ago happen. So, like I said, like George Michael, with basically him running into Maybe again, or any of his other, like I said, any of the other things that's going on with the family. It's all immediate events that are happening that basically tie the event together. So they cut it in such a way where it made it feel like the first 3 seasons.
Like they erased a horrible sequel. And fixed it.
They did. Like the whole evolution of the Fake Block app. You kind of see like little bits and pieces of it, and it expands slowly in this new version. But in the last one, like, you already knew like the whole aspect of it, how it started and how it, it was supposed to be a fake woodblock thing, so George Michael could plug a computer to make play in a rock band as the woodblock. But like the whole thing, like at the time you like knew that okay, that's what he's doing and kind of moving on. Whereas this one, it's like they started off with him being it like, oh, it's the blocking you on like social media, and then you don't find out till later in the episode that like no, that's his lie that he made to cover up the fact that it's just so he can make a fake woodblock.
Or basically the progression of Tobias when he basically goes, he can't find a job, so he basically becomes a street performer as the Thing from Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
But then it like ends up being on an episode of To Catch a Predator and gets labeled a sex offender. Like it's
right. And when the guy says, "Is like, what's your daughter?" He's like, "So you're here to see your daughter?" He's like, "Yeah, maybe." Who's his daughter? It's his daughter's name, but the guy takes that as like he's trying to avoid being.
Well, that and then, so the thing about Tobias, like I said, you've seen a couple seasons, so you know this. Is that he always basically says stuff with such sexual innuendo that always gets in trouble.
And everyone thinks that he's gay.
Yeah,
because
so
of
he bursts in the house and like he's like, hey, maybe Daddy's here to get he needs help to get his rocks off. And he's talking about the Thing suit.
But he's talking about like the Thing suit, right? Like it's the issues that arise with his sexual innuendo that he says is probably one of the funniest aspects of it. Like the fact that he's like, I'm gonna have a new start, and then he sets his license plate to Anus Tart, which is a new start. Like,
so they redeem themselves with the fourth season.
There's a couple things that I think is quite hilarious. Is that you can tell that they had to use like cut footage because it has the Fox Studios watermark along parts of it as they go.
Yeah, but it just adds to making it funny. Or like I said, in the very first episode, Henry Winkler is basically their lawyer. And so there's this really bad green screened in part where basically it just shows the static backs of two people and then him in front of a green screen talking.
Yeah, they literally had to be like, all right, we got to do something here. Like,
they cut it in such a way it's so bad, but it makes it funny.
Yeah.
Well, like not having seen it, just the fact that you guys were talking about how they made the individual characters have their own episodes just feels so weird because the show works the best when the family is kind of playing off each other. You know, all the individual actors are kind of playing off each other. Like it would be weird to have a one character show from that. It's like, I didn't want to see that. I wanted to see the whole family together.
Right.
So
I'm trying to bleed the line. Like, so here's the thing, like, just so you know, the first episode of the original one was focused on Michael, right? And it talks about his whole attempt to go to University of Phoenix to get his law degree and that sort of stuff. That doesn't show up until like episode 9 or 10 in the new season, that was all done in the first season.
Even barely touched on at that point in time.
It talks about it a little bit, and then I do also love that they did actually bring Ron Howard in to this season, though.
Yeah,
and the stuff that he does in this one, like the added stuff that he did for this one, is quite ingenious. Making him seem like he's just kind of this asshole that's just basically in constant competition with Jerry Bruckheimer. Like,
so, yeah. Like I said, well, Scott just informed me of something because the one thing I wanted to do is, like I said, it's been 5 years since season 4 came out.
Yeah, I have not gone back and watched any of it.
I wanted to go back and watch the originals, and I'm like, and so the only thing they had on there, I thought, was the remake. But Scott, like I said, you said you had some interesting information to share about that.
I did have two interesting pieces then. Number one is the originals are still on Netflix. They're not listed as the season. So if you go on to like the seasons and episodes, only the new version of season 4 is there. But if you go to the little trailers and more section that Netflix has, which everyone ignores, the originals are there under that section. So you can actually go back and watch the episodes to see the differences. So that's number one. I did find out that they did get in a little bit of hot water by doing the recut, because apparently all the actors, because this is the official season now, they didn't actually get paid for any of the recuts or any of that sort of stuff. So they are a little bit butthurt about that, because potentially if they get syndicated on Netflix, there is an issue with some of their pay and stuff in syndication because of that. So they didn't actually get anybody's permission to recut it and post it until like later on.
It's like, we're just gonna do this.
Yeah.
And I think so. I was reading that earlier too, and I think the thing that kind of makes it okay with them is literally that was I'll try to find the article of that too. Is that was part of the agreement to basically greenlight a season 5.
Yeah.
So season 5 was basically supposed to be in development forever. But
they got everybody back for season 5 too, which is amazing.
Everyone's back for season 5.
That's one cool thing about that show too. Is like they've had the same actors throughout the entire show. That's what's great about it.
Yeah, and that's what Heather in the comments had brought up the same thing. Is that like the show is so old, they have so many of the same actors, and they've only brought in more. Like that 4th season brought in I'm gonna butcher her name. I think it's Kristen Wiig, right? That's playing the young Lucille, and then you have Seth Green as young Oscar.
Oh, I love those.
No, not Seth Green. Seth Rogen. Sorry. And then you have all the things like
as George Senior.
George Senior, yeah. And then you have I always mess up her name, but it's Sacha Baron Cohen's wife is playing Ron Howard's like illegitimate daughter in it. So they actually have a lot of different like celebrities that have showed up that you wouldn't expect to pop in and continue to do their roles.
Well, I might have to look up her name because I don't know. Rebecca Stab. So Rebecca Stab is the Tobias's girlfriend from the original Fantastic Four. Rocky Corman Fantastic Four.
The one that no one has really seen, but it's on like YouTube now. Yeah, and the fact that that's what they play off of is that like crappy version of it. I was surprised to see like the some of the people that they had brought in. I mean, Carl Weathers shows back up, and then who's Conan's like sidekick? Andy Richter. Yeah, how he shows up as part of it. Like they actually got even like Conan shows up and plays like a characterization of himself. Like it's just amazing to see like all the people that they brought in for that 4th season.
Yeah. So Nate, you have to basically watch through it so that way you can see it. Well, here's the thing. I want you to watch the recut 4th season. So that way you know the first the original cut doesn't spoil it for you.
And then go watch the first episode.
Then go watch the first episode of the original 4th season. Because like I said, you'll see that it's like so much different. And like I said, they basically turn this pile of crap into something that's actually pretty funny.
They turn the same story into something that you can follow, and you're like, oh, okay, I know what's going on now.
Yeah, and I don't even remember why like I stopped watching it, like because I really did like it when I enjoyed it. You know, when I was watching it. But
if you watched any of the 4th season, that's exactly why you stopped watching.
That might have been.
That's why I stopped watching it.
It could have been. But yeah, just listening to you guys talk about it and the fact that they redid that season to make season 5 work, it makes me want to go back and watch it now.
It does make me curious as to what's going to happen with the season 5, though.
Yeah,
like just the stories that they told in that 3rd and 4th season do not really lead to like where can they go from here with the season 5 with that family. So it's going to be an interesting 5th season to say the least.
Nate, hey, did you ever watch season 3?
I can't remember, to be honest, which season I have and have not watched.
So, well, because it's funny because I part of the reason that makes me love this show, and I think why it has such a cult following, is because of Ron Howard. Ron Howard as the narrator is literally the most amazing thing ever. Well, in the 3rd season, like said, because the ratings were so low, it was going to get canceled. He basically says throughout multiple times throughout the season, "Hey," he breaks the 4th wall and talks to the audience. Please, tell your friends to watch this show. It's just like I said, it's just a great show. So
he does that in the season. He has new intros for the 4th season, or the recut. He has some new intros, and like I said, he introduces himself as in that 4th season as a character, but it is a very different version of Ron Howard than you would be expected to see.
I might have to just start watching it tonight talking about it makes me really want to see it now.
Yeah, no, you'll get if you enjoyed any of the seasons, finally we have a working, funny fourth season. It's the fourth season that we should have had a long time ago.
Yeah,
I think I saw all of 1 and all of 2, but I don't know if I got to 3 or 4.
yeah. 3 is a little different. 3, so season 3, I didn't like as much. But the recut season 4 I actually like better than season 3.
Okay, that's good. All right, I'm gonna make it through it. I'm gonna watch it.
So,
Plus,
STS Guys,
I have to say,
pick of the week. Recap.
pick of the week is to watch the fourth season, the recut fourth season of Arrested Development, and be prepared to laugh your ass off.
Wow.
Wow, it just got dark. You tell me to watch something, and then you're like, you know what? F you.
I knew. I was just seeing if anybody was actually watching that. Honestly, no one's watching at this point. So.
I think we need to have a restart, a new start,
a new start.
Episode title.
STS Guys, a new start.
STS Guys, a new start.
As long as
kind of like a new.
As long as we spell it ANUSTART.
Absolutely. There's only one. There's only one way.
There's only one way to spell a new start.
A new start.
I just love the fact that when he has the child predator one, that the cops keep calling him Anus Tart.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, we have Anus Tart coming up the driveway. All right, Anus Tart is parked. Like the whole time.
Like I said, you're gonna love it. So I love the fact that they play. So once he becomes a sex offender, from that point forward, literally every scene he ends, he's like, "I'm Tobias, and I'm a sex offender." Like, he has to basically pronounce that he's a sex offender to everyone he interacts.
Oh my god, that and just the whole scene of him, like his bad luck on his India journey, and just trying to like get on the plane. Like I'm just cracking up at all the shit that happens to him on the plane ride. Like Tobias is, I think, one of my favorite characters out of that show.
Ross likes it, just makes
he nails it. Like,
yeah, he does a really good job with that character.
You can tell it's just him improvising and having fun too. Like, it's amazing.
All right. Well, I think that does it for this week, guys. What do you say?
So I say we agree, but who's going to do our shilling because Larry's not here?
Oh yeah,
Nate, come on.
All right. Well, if you guys like this episode, please give us a big fat thumbs up. Check out the rest of our channel on YouTube. Check us out on Instagram at STS Guys. Check us out on Twitter at STS Guys. Check us out on Facebook at the STS Guys. And I am Nate from the STS Guys.
Damn, son.
You can also check us out on Instagram at STS Guys.
Oh, did I not say Instagram? My bad.
I don't know if you did or not. I stopped paying attention.
It's okay. I give you an 85%.
So. Okay, thank you. I'm trying to replicate. Oh, Larry said good job.
Larry.
Good job. Yay.
Goof job. Goof job.
Is that goof job?
Goof job.
Well, I'm trying to improvise as much as I can, Larry. We don't have you here, and you are the show master.
That's amazing. So for episode 35 of the STS Guys, I've been Jeremy.
I've been Nate.
And I'm Scott.
And we're the STS Guys. Have a great night, everyone.
Bye.